Hello, MC Schools TV. My name is Cheryl Rogers, first grade teacher at Carver Elementary. Today, we're going to learn about shapes. Our objective today reads, I can create a composite shape from three-dimensional shapes and describe the shape using its name and positions. Here I have some shapes that we'll be using today. To begin, let's do a shape flash. I want you to think about the name of the shapes as we go over them together. Let's look at our two-dimensional shapes first. Our first shape is a what, boys and girls? That's right, a trapezoid. A trapezoid has four sides, 1, 2, 3, 4, and four corners, 1, 2, 3, 4. Did you know that? Of course you did. What's our next shape? You got it, a triangle. Our triangle has how many sides? Good job, 3. 1, 2, 3. And how many corners? Very good, 3 as well. 1, 2, 3. Our next shape is a very common shape. It's a what? Good job. It's a square. We have how many sides? Let's count together. 1, 2, 3, 4 sides, and 4 corners. Count with me. 1, 2, 3, 4. You're doing great. Our last two-dimensional shape is a what? It starts with an R. You got it, a rhombus. This shape, let's count our sides. 1, 2, 3, 4 sides, and count our corners. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, if this shape has 4 sides and 4 corners, what other shapes did we already talk about that also have 4 sides and 4 corners? Very good. The square has 4 sides and 4 corners. And what other shape has 4 sides and 4 corners? Kiss your brain. The trapezoid. Good job. All of these shapes have 4 sides and 4 corners. However, the square is the only one that has right angles. Now, let's look at our three-dimensional shapes. Our first shape we have is a what, boys and girls? Very good, a cube. Our cube has, let's count our faces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 faces. And count our vertices. Those are our points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So our cube has 6 faces and 8 vertices. One thing important about our two-dimensional and three-dimensional shapes are our two-dimensional shapes are flat shapes, shapes that you can draw on paper. Our three-dimensional shapes are shapes that you can hold in your hand. Our next shape we have is a cone. Looking at our cone, how many faces do we have? That's right, we have 1 face. And how many vertices? Good job, 1. Our next shape we have is a cylinder. Say cylinder after me. Cylinder. Our cylinder has 1, 2 faces and no vertices. Our cylinder does not have any points. Our next shape is a sphere. It looks like a ball. There are no faces and no vertices. And our last three-dimensional shape is a rectangular prism. What's important about our rectangular prism is that the 4 of the faces are in the shape of a rectangle, and 2 of the faces are in the shape of a square. Let's count our faces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 faces. And how many vertices? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, now for today's lesson, again, we're going to be looking at our three-dimensional shapes and making composite shapes out of them. So, let's use some three-dimensional shapes that you have at home. Of course, you may not have these shapes, but you have a lot of things at your home that you can use so that we can complete this lesson together. One of our three-dimensional shapes is a cylinder, so I brought some cylinders from home. You may use some canned goods out of your pantry to use your three-dimensional shapes. My can also has 2 faces and no vertices. My rectangular prism here, I brought a box from home. My box, again, has rectangular faces, 4 of them, and 2 square faces. It also has 8 vertices. For my sphere, I brought my son's baseball. Do you have a ball at home? I bet you do. For the cone, I brought a party hat. If you don't have a party hat at home, you can use a sheet of paper and roll it to make your party hat. And for the cube, my kids are a little too old, so we'll just have to use a cube that I have here. Okay, now I want you to listen, and I'm going to describe a shape to you, and I want you to try to make the same shape at home. I'm going to cover it up like a magician. Okay, for our first shape, I'm going to put a cube on the table. I'm going to place a cone on top of the cube so that the circular face is touching the top of the cube. Do you think your picture or your shape looks like my structure? Let's find out. Does your shape look like mine? I bet it does. Good job. Let's try another one. This time, I'm putting a rectangular prism with the longest face touching the table. Think about my rectangular prism. My longest face is a rectangle. Now, I'm going to place a cube on top of my rectangular prism, directly in the middle. Now, I'm going to place 2 cones on each side. Okay? Do you think your shape matches mine? Let's find out. Does your shape look like that? I bet it does. Good job. Okay, this time I'm putting a rectangular prism with the longest face touching the table. Again, that's the what face? Very good, the face that is shaped like a rectangle. A cylinder on top of the prism all the way to the right. And then a cylinder all the way to the left. Now I'm going to place another rectangular prism on top. And then I'll use a cone to top it off on top of my rectangular prism. That's a kind of difficult one. Let's listen one more time. I'm going to start with the rectangular prism, flat, with the longest side on the table. I will place a cylinder to the right and to the left of my rectangular prism on top of it. I'll place a rectangular prism on top of my cylinders. And then I'll place a cone on top of my rectangular prism. Does your shape look like mine? Of course it does. Great job. Now, I want you to think, were spheres easier or cubes easier to use in our structure? Which do we use the most of? Remember, our sphere was the shape that had no faces and no vertices. Our cube was a shape that had faces and vertices. Which is easier to use? That's right. The cube or the flat surfaces are easier to use because they are able to hold other objects. Using our sphere, it would just roll away. Our next one says to try to make some other composite shapes at home. You have plenty of shapes at home. I want you to practice with a parent or another family member on making composite shapes. Are there any shapes that maybe you'll leave out? Well, that's up to you. I want you down in the comments to place your favorite shape that you've used for this lesson. I hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.